Hi everyone, this is Tuplex. Welcome back. Today we're going to be setting up red and green science. I did go into the factorial calculator and put together what would be needed to make 90 science packs per minute. Of all the science packs up to space science. For the starter base, we don't need space science because that's for endgame stuff. Actually, some of the SpaceX items require space science. Yeah, the faster than light propulsion system. So we won't need space science for a while. So I'm not going to build that into the starter base. We'll just do all the other science packs. Previously, I did talk about putting those out on the train network, but if I do that, then what's the point of building up a large starter base with, 8 lines of copper and 8 lines of iron? So I think I would prefer just to make all the science up to space science here in the main base. Whoops. Now, for those of you who perhaps don't have a ton of experience in the game, if you have made, you've launched a rocket before, but you're kind of daunted about stepping up to a mega base, then building a base like this where you're doing 90 science packs a minute in your main base, that could be a good next step, I would say, to build up a larger version of your starter base, get used to working in higher volumes, and then for your next playthrough, maybe you want to go to a larger base and start working on a mega base, where it's all distributed on a train network rather than all in one central location. Okay, so I need to make some of these factories. I need to make a bunch of inserters. Actually, let's just do one stack of the factories for now. And I'll make 3 or 4 handfuls of inserters. And I should probably... How am I doing on belts? No, I've got enough belts for a while. So we'll do science, and then I'll start making belts and stuff like that afterwards. Once we get red and green science, I think the next step will be to put together the beginnings of the hardware store or the mall, depending on what you like to call it. Okay, so my general rule of thumb is 8 spaces between the different production areas. So I lay it out with these furnaces because these are 2 tiles each. So that's 8 tiles that way, 8 tiles this way. That means my first production machine is going to be right there. Yeah. Okay. So, to do 90 a minute on red science, again, when I talk about 90 a minute, what I mean, well, it's technically going to be 90 a minute, but we're actually going to design, if we look at the numbers, if I choose my production buildings based on items per second, in this case, we're talking about 90 a minute is, design-wise, it's like a 2 per second build. So if a science pack 1 takes 5 seconds to make, and I want to do 1 per second, then I would need 5 buildings. And 2 per second would be 10 buildings. Okay? So I'm going to build this so that I have 10 buildings making science pack 1s. So that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay. Now, in actuality, I'm not actually going to get 2 a second. 2 a second would be 120 a minute. But the crafting speed of these blue assembler machines is 0.75, which means that something that takes 5 seconds would actually take 5 seconds divided by 0.75. So that's where we get 90 per minute rather than 120 a minute, just because we're going to be using these blue buildings, which have a slower crafting speed. They actually slow down the production to 75% of the rate that you see here. I hope that's clear. It might not be. Okay, so, and actually I'm going to add one more building, because this first one is going to be making iron gears. And then the rest of these will be making science pack 1s. I'm going to shift right click to copy the recipe, and then shift left click on all the others to put it in there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in iron right here. So let's extend our iron line, and I'm going to put a splitter, and then we'll need to jump over the copper lines that will be there eventually. Okay. One of the mods I have is called Max Rate Calculator. And by the way, I didn't mention this before, but I have, by the time you see this, I will have in the description of all these videos a link to a mod list. I'll also have a link to the Factorio calculator with the 90 science per minute in there, so that you can see what I'm using to figure out how big to build the starter base. And there'll be links to other useful information there as well. So with the max rate calculator mod, if you hit Control N, that brings up a little tool. And if I select all these production buildings for red science, this is kind of a quick and easy way to see to see lots of useful things. So first of all, this will tell me that I need 90 gear wheels per second, or per minute, which makes sense. You could look at it in items per second. In this case, I want to look at, let's see, items per minute per machine. This doesn't tell me how many machines I need for gears. But if I look at items per second, I can see that I'm going to need 1.5 iron gears per second. Okay, and then I can hover over this building, and I can see that this will make 1.5 per second. Right, so we're good there. And then you can also look at, for example, basic inserters. You can see that that we'll need 1.8 in total. So let's go back and select one machine. Okay, so each one of these machines needs 0.18 basic inserters to load the ingredients. So basically that tells me that I can use yellow inserters to feed all these things, and yellow inserters on the output as well. If I select all the buildings, it'll give me the total for all the buildings. Let's see here. And then you can also use it for belts, so that we can see that a regular transport belt, that's a yellow belt, one belt will be enough to feed all these machines. So that's a handy little tool. All right, now if I go back to my gear machine, if I look at basic inserters, we can see that for this machine to run at full speed, we would need 3.6 inserters feeding in iron plates if we're using yellow ones. If we use fast inserters, then we can see that I'm going to need 1.3. So I'm actually going to need 2 fast inserters to feed this with iron fast enough to keep it running at full speed. Okay, and then on the output, it would be 1.8. So fast inserters, I would just need 1 on the output. So I'm going to start crafting a handful or 2 of the fast inserters, and I'll craft some more of those regular ones. Okay, so we're going to need a fast inserter on the output as well. And I'm going to put my power for all these. I'll put a light as well. And we'll bring down the belt. Okay, so this is going to make our iron gears and then put them on the far side of this belt to feed down for all those machines. And because the gears are going on the far side of the belt, I'm going to put copper plates on the inside of the belt, and that way we'll have a belt that has copper plates on one side, iron gears on the other side, and that'll feed into all of these science machines. Let me turn that off. Okay, and then they'll just go in on one side, and red science packs will come out on the other side. Okay, I need some splitters. All right, so that'll go right there, under the path, and there we go. Okay, so pretty much the only thing we need now is electricity. So I'm going to put an electric pole right there, and then I'll feed it down here. And then once I have the tech for it, I'll replace all this with large power poles. Okay, so we are now making lots of red science. Which is going to go down there. And then on the other side of this belt, we're going to make the green science. Okay, now green science takes 6 seconds to make, whereas the red ones take 5. So I've got 10 machines making red science. I'm going to need 12 machines making green science. So let's start crafting those. 5, 10, 11, 12. And then I'm going to need some extras for the ingredients. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a bunch of iron plate off of the belt here, so I can make a few more of these. And I'll handcraft some more inserters and a few more fast inserters as well. Okay. So we're going to have the green science here. Whoops. Like that. So while I'm waiting for these to be crafted, I will work on the input side of things. All right, so this is where the ingredients for these bad boys is going to go. Now the green science packs take transport belts and inserters. And those both happen to be things that we need a lot of anyway. So I want to put those on to one side of the belt as well. So this is how I normally do it. I'll put the machines that are making the science packs here on this side. All right, and I'll put 2 more so that we get 12. And again, I'll shift right click to copy the recipe and shift left click and drag to paste it. We'll put in our power poles. We'll put in lights. and we will put in inserters. Okay, and then we'll need a way to get, can end that right there. We'll need a way to get inserters and transport belts onto opposing sides of this belt. Okay. What was I going to do? I know. One thing I would like to do is start making some steel so that I can make some steel axes to replace the iron ones, because the steel axes allow you to pick stuff up faster. Okay. So now on this side, I'll have, you know, a series of machines here making the other stuff that we need. So we're going to need more gears. Actually, I take that back. I'm going to put the gears here. Here we will make the transport belts. And here I will make the inserters. That means I don't need that. Let me pick up my steel plates. All right, and I'll make a few steel axes. The iron axes I can use to make nanobots. Get rid of those. And then I can pick this up. Okay. Right, so this factory making gears will feed both of these. And actually, I think I'm going to need 2 of those. Right, because this is going to consume... Well, maybe not. Let's see, items per second. Yeah, this is going to consume... All right. Here, you know what? There's an easier way to do this. Let's do this with Hellmod instead. Green science packs. We're going to be using blue factories. And I want 90 per minute. Okay, I think this is defaulting to 90 per second. No, I don't want matrix solver. Where are the settings? Hellmod. Let's see. There's something for the size. Okay. Display width factor and height factor. I want to decrease these. Let's change that to 0.6 and 0.6. There we go. Now I can actually see this stuff on the side. Okay. Yeah, so we're on base time 1 second. So I'm going to change that to 1 minute. Okay, so 90 per minute. 12 factories, that means we need 90 belts and 90 inserters per minute as well. So if I click on this, that'll tell me how many gears I need. Okay, now these both need gears. So now if I click on gears, this will give me the total of 135 per minute. Okay, yeah, and that tells me that I need 2 machines making gears. How about circuits? Okay, yeah, 1 machine making circuits. And I think I might need 2 machines. Yeah, I'll need 2 machines making copper cable. Okay, and then I can pin this so I can refer to that while I'm working. All right, so I'm going to need a second machine Let me see. Yeah, second machine making gears, and then we can do the inserters here. Let's make a couple more of those. And I need more iron plate. So I'm going to go down, run down and get some more iron plate while I'm waiting. I could pull it off the belt, but it's faster if I just drag on all those furnaces, and then I can get a bunch of it all at once. Okay, now this is going to need green circuits. And the green circuits I need to feed with copper plates, or copper wire rather. And I should be able to fit 2 of them here. Yeah. Okay. So that'll go like that. And then that'll feed in there. Let's see what we need on basic inserters. Yep, I'm going to need fast inserters. Let's see, items per second. Items per minute. Yep. Yeah, we'll need to keep this running at full speed. Alright, so I'm going to use fast inserters everywhere I can. Like that. Okay. Now in vanilla, in plain vanilla Factorio, normally I would have to do a trick like this to get this on the inside of the belt, since this is going to be going onto the outside of the belt. But because I have adjustable inserters, I can Shift E and I get this inserter configuration menu. And I can tell it to offset onto the near side of the belt, so it'll actually drop on the near side. The other thing, there's a shortcut. You can just Shift N while hovering over the inserter, and that'll make it a near inserter. That's what that near inserter research was that we did a while ago. Yeah, this one here. So I'm going to do that, and it'll simplify the layout a little bit. Now that also means that if you are if you're playing a plain vanilla game, that you won't be able to copy my build exactly. All right, and that's going to be iron feeding all of these. Actually, we're going to need iron for that one as well. Let me make some more inserters. And I'll make another couple handfuls of lights. Yeah, because this needs iron plates as well. Ah, and now that I think of it, this also needs iron plates. Okay, so we're going to feed iron there, and then this is going to be copper. Okay, so first belt is iron, so let's feed this up. Put our splitter, and I need more undergrounds. And I can close this. There we go. Okay, so we'll have to do this one there. Okay, and then as soon as the copper gets up here, we should start making the inserters as well. There we go. Okay, so you can see how this one is inserting on the near side of the belt, which again is not, you won't be able to do that unless you have Bob's adjustable inserters. And again, if you can't do this, the only adjustment you would make, would be to do something like that. And then you can achieve the same thing. So I'll actually just leave it like that for now, just to not confuse anybody. But in the future, I'm going to be making use of the adjustable inserters to put stuff directly on the inside of the belt. Okay. Now the other thing that I will do, I'm going to make 2 filter inserters. And until we have I have my hardware store set up, also known as a mall by some, I'm going to set this up to put the excess items into these chests. All right, so I'll limit that to 4 slots. I'll limit that to, let's say, 2 slots. So that way, if I get breaks in the production of science packs, whatever doesn't get used up, it'll go past the last machine and it'll get placed into chests so that I don't have to handcraft as many of these items. Actually, I changed my mind a little bit. And the reason is that I think my needs should take priority over my science labs. So I'm going to take my stuff first. And then once my chests are filled up, the excess can be used to make science packs. Just because I'm kind of selfish that way. Okay, so now that we're making tons of red and green science packs, I'm going to need a lot of labs to consume them. So let's take a look here. Now, the research times vary a lot depending on what it is that we're making. But it looks like in the early game, most of it is 30 seconds per science pack. And let's see if, I don't know if a lab has crafting speed or not. It doesn't look like it. Sometimes these max rate tools end up in inventory. Yeah, so if you just use it, you can get rid of it. All right, so a lab, yeah, a lab doesn't have any construction speed, so I think that means that the research time that you see here is how long it actually takes. Okay, so if each of these science packs generally gets used in 30 seconds by one lab, and I'm making 90 per second, or 90 per minute. Okay, so I'm making 90, let's go here. I'm making 90 per minute. and it takes 30 seconds to consume 1. So 90 divided by 60, so I'm making 1.5 per second, right? And if it takes 30 to consume 1, do I multiply that by 30? I think that means I need 45 labs to consume it. Yeah, because 90 per minute, 30 seconds per science pack means I can consume 2 per minute. So if I'm making 90 per minute and I can consume 2 per minute, that means I need 45 labs to consume it. And I'm going to round that up to 46 so that I can have an even number on each side of the belt. Okay, so I've got 1. I have 2 south of us. That's 3. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. And then 43. 1, 2, 3 more. Okay. So this is going to take a little while to handcraft, especially since I have to make all these green circuits. So actually, I'll take those last few out of the queue because I don't want to wait to handcraft green circuits. That just takes forever. I've got some more circuits down here that I can pick up. Whoops. See, I had my termite bots turned on. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to pick up those labs. I can pick up these factories. There we go. All right. So that's 10, 13, 18, 23, 28, 33, 38. All right, and then I need more circuits. All right. Well, let's start laying these out. So 46 means 23 per side. And what I'm going to do is run a set of belts down the middle of the labs. And I'm only going to run, let's see, I mean, eventually we're going to have 6 different science packs. Right, we'll have these 2, we'll have military, we'll have the blue science, that's 4, and then production science and high-tech science, that's 6. So normally you would need like 3 belts to feed all those labs. All right, let's put my 8 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so first lab is going to go right there. So normally I would need 3 belts if I was going to feed it all by belts. But what I'm going to do is, before we get to the end, I'm going to be feeding these by robots instead. So ultimately, I'm only going to need enough space to put an inserter and a requester chest on each side, which we can do with that. And in the meantime, I can get the first 4 science packs fed by belt, and then once I have the tech for robots, I can build logistics bots and replace that with chests. And that way I'll avoid having long belts full of science packs running all over the base. Okay, so like I said, 23 on each side. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Okay. That is a lot of labs. So I'll run power. Oh, okay. It does work automatically. It's just kind of, that's kind of weird. And then I'll put a light. Okay. And then I'm going to blueprint that up to the belt. So we'll put our inserters there. Turn on my nanobots so they start going to work. All right, and then I'm going to flip it over. That's 1, 2. Like that. Oh, okay. I need inserters. Fortunately, it's easy to get those now. Whoops. And we need some more lights. Okay, now this is fine for one side, but on the other side, I'm going to need long inserters. Okay, now in vanilla Factorio, we would be making long-handed inserters. To do that, yeah, I suppose I'll do that this time. No, actually I won't. With adjustable inserters, we can do Shift L, and we can make any type of inserter go long. Right, so I'm just going to copy paste that down the line here. Right, so these are all long inserters now. Okay, and I'm missing 8 labs, which I needed circuits for. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to steal some circuits from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Okay, so let's feed this some electricity. I'm going to continue to run what I'll call my main power line down the side of the path here. Okay, and now we're running lots of labs. And those labs consume a lot of power. So our power is going to be browning out here pretty soon. let's do this. I'll just dump those in a chest for a little bit. Steal some gears from these machines as well. Okay, so that's done. Now we can start to do the next tier of science. But I think before we do that, I want to research nanobot speed. And I need one more lab. Let's make that long. Okay, so that's done. And we can see that now the science is getting done at breakneck speed, which is kind of a beautiful thing to behold. And so far, our single lines of copper and iron are mostly keeping up. Let's see, I've got 100. Okay. Right, so nanobot speed will be done in no time, and then we can start doing the research for some of the higher end stuff. We could even do lab research speed and get rid of some of these labs. 20%, what's 20% of 46? That's, or 45, that's 9. So we could go from 45 down to 34, right? And then we'll use less electricity. So I think I'll do that as soon as nanobot speed is done. I will research the first level of lab research speed. That'll give us a 20% boost, which means that we can consume the same number of science packs with fewer labs. Probably should have thought of that before I built all these things. There we go. Let's do lab research speed 1. That'll start using up some of the green science packs. So once that's done, I'll cut it down to 34 labs, which is going to be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17 per side. So I'll be able to get rid of 12. No, I've got 46. Yeah, 46 down to 34. No, I need 36, right? So I'll be able to get rid of 10 of the labs. 46 down to 36. Yeah, so these labs will go away. And then I can shorten this belt as well. So I'll wait for research speed to finish. I will make that change. And then in the next episode, I think we'll probably start building green circuits. I do want to make the hardware store, or the mall, as some people call it. I don't like calling it a mall because I don't like shopping malls. So I'll call it the hardware store. I do want to get to that, but that's going to need a lot of green circuits anyway. So I think it would be a good idea if we build up our green circuit production next, rather than go directly to the mall at this point. So we'll do green circuits, and then after that, we'll start to put together the mall. All right, so we can get rid of these labs. I'm going to pull the inserters first. Right, and again, it wouldn't necessarily hurt to have, too many labs, except I don't really need them because I won't be able to make the science packs that fast anyway. and the labs do consume a lot of power, so it'll reduce our power requirements if I get rid of them. Okay, so now let's do, I don't really need circuit network next. I do want to get to trains quickly, so why don't we do engines next? And let's focus on our train research. And actually, this is the type of thing where auto research comes in handy. We need rail signals, automated train deployment, and logistic train network. So let's put in rail signals, logistic train network, and what was the other one? An automated train. Oh, yeah, that one's not terribly necessary. I don't really need that one right now. This is like the automatic train deletion and building, but that's from a mod. So if I do rail signals and logistic train network, and I tell it to enable, I tell it to only research queued and enable auto research. That way it'll automatically queue up the prerequisite items for those things, right? So I can set that, turn on auto research, and it'll just automatically choose whatever's needed to get there, which is pretty convenient. Okay, and then these extra labs that I'm not using right now, I'll just put them in a chest. We can use them later when we expand the base. Later on, we'll be using a lot more labs, I think. So, okay, well, that's going to do it for now. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. Appreciate it as always. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.